Hello ladies and gentlemen, I'm Dr. Trax on Blitz, and in today's video we are taking a quick look at the K-91, which is a tier 9 premium Russian heavy tank, because it has just arrived back in the stores today, and I will go over the characteristics of the tank and then show you a quick replay that I had earlier today. Before we jump into the video, however, if you like this kind of content, please like, share and subscribe, and especially comment under my videos what kind of content you would like me to cover in the future. So, the K-91, what do you have to know about this tank? So first of all, it's a Russian tank, and secondly, it's a heavy tank. However, it's a Russian heavy with a slight twist, because you have two main advantages. You have an autoloader and you actually have some gun depression. So I will jump straight into the characteristics, and the first thing I want to highlight is the gun, because it is an amazing one. You have almost 2.7k DPM, and at tier 9 with an autoloader, that is super nice. You see the magazine reload time with 16.5 seconds. So in 16.5 seconds you get 3 shells, and each shell deals 350 damage with an interclip reload of 3.5 seconds, which means it takes you 7 seconds after your first shot to unload your whole clip and deal 1050 damage. And to be honest, at tier 9 that's pretty scary, especially if you come up against tier 8 targets. You will tear them to pieces. There's absolutely no stopping you if you are top tier. However, you can see the penetration with 260 millimeters on the AP and 341 on the heat is actually quite nice. So in my opinion, this is one of the few tanks that can actually also go up against heavy tanks in tier 10 with no problems, because you can just switch to the heat ammunition and you will butter through everything. So this tank can hold its own against tier 8s, tier 9s and even tier 10s, which I really like. The aiming time and the dispersion are quite well, so 3.8 seconds aiming time and 0.33 dispersion. It's not really made for sniping. It is best used, in my opinion, in mid to close range. Yeah, sorry. And the second thing that I said before I want to highlight is the gun depression. You actually have 7 degrees of gun depression, which is not quite enough to operate every ridgeline in the game. However, 7 degrees is nice, and it allows you to be a little bit more flexible on the battlefield than your standard Russian heavy tank. The second thing I want to highlight is the maneuverability. So the top speed, it looks pretty grim with 40 kilometers per hour. However, to be honest, the tank feels pretty nimble, especially when you consider you actually, because it's an autoloader, you cannot run the adrenaline, which means you have to run the speed boost. And this is something that I basically use every game in the beginning of the game to get into positions quicker. And then in the mid game, if I have to relocate, I'll use it as well. So the maneuverability actually feels better, as it is stated right here. And the last thing is the survivability. So as you can see here, it says you have 220 mils of armor on the front, 140 on the side and 120 on the rear of the turret. And your hull has 120 on the front and 100 on the sides and the rear. However, if you look at the tank, you will actually see that the angles here are pretty funky, especially on the turret. So if enemies shoot you here in the front, that's 200 millimeters plus the gun mantlet. So there's pretty much no way of penetrating through here. And if they want to shoot this part here and their dispersion is just a little bit off, they will actually come into some auto bounce areas. So there's a high chance that they ricochet just off here, and even if it's just very flat, you still have 240, 250 millimeters effective armor. So this is a tank that really rewards you if you wiggle just a little bit, not a lot, just a little bit. Maybe keep your turret between these two the two tracks, and if you wiggle, you will actually fabricate a lot of bounces. The second thing I want to say is you can see the turret here, even on the side, is pretty steep. So if someone aims on the turret side here, they have a higher chance of bouncing as well. It said that you had a 120 on the front of the hull. However, you can see the angling here is so steep. That's effective, I think, around 400 or 450 millimeters of armor. So basically there's no penetrating your upper plate, no matter what aims at you frontally. However, you can see the huge glaring weak spot, and that is the lower plate, which is effective around 200 millimeters. So if you come up against tier 8s, they will have no problem. Tier 9s and tier 10s will have, they will butter through it like there's no tomorrow. So the one thing that you actually have to do is hide your lower plate. And there's an effective strategy that this tank can do, and that is called side scraping. So this tank is really good at side scraping and even reverse side scraping. So the only thing that I can highlight about that, so you have 100 millimeters on hull armor on the side, so you can side scrape like this and it will create 350 millimeters, even more depending on your angling. So you can hide your lower plate and still shoot at the enemy. However, what I want to highlight is you should be really careful so that you do not over angle your tank, because there is one thing that makes this tank special even across the Russian heavies, because this here that you can see, this is not spaced armor. This is actually part of the hull, because you can see the tracks are just here. So if an enemy shoots you here, and this is 100 millimeters, if you look at it at a 90 degrees angle, 100 millimeters of your hull armor, so they will penetrate you easily. The same at the back, so this is part of the hull and this on the other side as well. So you can side scrape in this tank, and it's a very good side scraper. However, you have to be careful, this is not spaced armor, so the moment you over angle, people are able to penetrate your hull quite reliably. Also, what you can see here, if you look at it frontally, penetrating this part frontally is very difficult because you have this angling here, so going through the tracks and into the hull here is not really possible. However, if you go into a gun depression spot, this angle here becomes less effective, so even if you hide your lower plate in a gun depression spot, people can actually penetrate this part more easily, because I think it will be around 210 millimeters effective. However, this tank is a really solid tank, especially in tier 9 and tier 8. It is, quite frankly, on the verge of being overpowered because you have the armor, because you have the gun, because you have the maneuverability. So this tank is overall just a beast. For the equipment, I run the calibrated shells here because it adds that little bit of penetration that you need, and especially the 31 mil plus on the heat ammunition is really nice. The ventilation here, it doesn't really add enough for me here, to be honest, because 40 more DPM and magazine reload time doesn't really drop considerably. So definitely run the calibrated shells here because you want your shells to penetrate. Your DPM is good, however, if you miss a shot and you have to reload your whole clip, that drops your DPM considerably. I go for the enhanced gun lane drive here just to reduce the aiming time, and even go for the vertical stabilizer to reduce the aiming time even more. To be honest, the refined gun, it could be a choice here. However, as I said, the tank is best used at close to mid-range, so they don't really need the dispersion buff here. So I would go with the vertical stabilizer just to make the aiming a little bit quicker. I run with the defensive system because you're not really quick enough to ram anybody. And this is actually a tank where I run the enhanced armor on, because you have such funky angles. The 4% armor plus can actually give you a lot more effective armor, so I would definitely recommend the enhanced armor plus here. When I go with a toolbox, because enhanced tracks is useless. The improved optics just to get the view range up. Your view range actually for all the tier 9 heavies is, I think, the third best. The engine accelerator to get the top speed up. The hull turn rate is actually, like, the difference between the two here doesn't really make much, so I go with the engine accelerator, and I go with a consumable delivery system so that I can get my repair kits back more often because I do not run adrenaline. So that was it, reviewing the tank. I will go into a replay now on Fort Despair, and as you can see, we are actually bottom tier. And also it's a rating battle because, to be honest, teams have been a little bit awful today. So I didn't feel like wasting my win rate just to get some footage. But as you saw, we are bottom tier. But like I said before, the tank can actually quite hold its own. So in the beginning, what I was maybe thinking, we should go to A and B. However, the team says we go to C, and the problem I had with that, they have a VK90, so if that VK90 goes into a side scrapping position, that would be difficult. The team says to rush C, yeah, please. If a team says that, do not rush just any cap point or any side just because the team says so. So as you can see, I make clear why I thought we would have gone, or we should have gone to B. However, as you can see, the enemy team actually goes to B and they capped B. And here's our T-57 in the C cap, and he's not spotting anything, so I can go in, but I'm careful still here. And there we see the VK90 on the side, and to be honest, I don't really know what that dude was doing here, so I'm trying to be careful because even though I have good armor, I don't want to lose too many hit points because in the beginning of the game that will be a little bit difficult because I want to get out the damage. Also, I see that this VK is just showing me the side, so I go for the shots here. Even though I take one, you see I get one clip into that VK, and now it's just reloaded. So I get shot from them something, and it's most likely the, I don't know, the T-62A, I would suggest, or think that it is. But as you can see, this is standard gameplay, and there we actually get a bounce. I don't know who bounced us there. I don't know who shot us. If that was the AMX 50B, yeah, how did he get that shot down? However, it doesn't matter, we get the bounce, and now we are fully reloaded, so we take one shot, but get one shot in. And what I'm trying to do now is, I don't want to poke too much, because in an autoloader you are a support tank, so you should not go alone. This is one thing that I can stress not enough. In an autoloader, never go alone on the side and never get isolated from your tank, because as soon as you unloaded your clip, the enemy tanks can easily push you. So yeah, what I said just now, the VK lost the game because he was in not a good position. So as you can see, the game at this point is pretty much won. And what I've done so far is I stayed passive, I tried to get some safe shots in, not get isolated from the team, and also wait until my clip is reloaded. So what I see a lot is people actually pull out before they are reloaded, and this is something that you should not do because you will just bleed HP and not get any benefit from it. And what I see right now is I go for the reload, for the full clip reload, even though I had one shell left, because I know I can clip this T95 and it actually takes some time for me to get behind him. So that's what I do, I get behind him, and then there's one shot in the T95 and a second shot in the T95, and that is actually it. That's GG, well played. And as you can see, we end on 3.4k damage almost, and we blocked 350 damage, so we blocked one shot from the AMX. To be honest, after the match, I was, yeah, a little bit surprised that we are actually top damage, because it didn't feel like we did much. You saw we put one clip into the VK, and then we put a second clip into the VK, and one shot into the AMX. But what you have to realize is, if you hit your entire clip, that is 1050 damage. So basically what I did in this game is I put in 3 clips, and that was it. That is enough to get you top damage, even if you are in a tier 10 match in a tier 9 tank. That was it so far from me. I hope you enjoyed the review and the replay. If you did so, please like, share and subscribe. And the only thing I have left to say is see you around and goodbye.